Hello adventurers and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm super excited because we're going to be doing something kind of fun. Now a lot of you have seen the various videos I've done on my channel here where I've shown you some simple camping meals, but today I'm going to show you something that I really like to do. Today we're going to be cooking a sweet treat out of the back of Dimples here and showing you that you can do anything with a little creativity, a little ingenuity, and a big appetite. So let's go. Now it isn't always that I like to bake sweets on the road, but sometimes you just kind of want to do something to have a little nibble here and there. And so I thought today I was going to kind of make one of the recipes that I like to make when I'm at base camp, but make it van life. Does that make sense? So we're taking a regular recipe and we're modifying it to make it a little bit simpler for us to make whenever we're in our tiny van like this. Now, as many of you know, I have a pull-out kitchen in the back, so let's go get it set up and I'll show you what we're making. Now, in order to make this work, we just pop open this door right here, and then we'll pull out our handy dandy ladder and put it to the side because, well, we don't need this right now. So, up against this door it goes, and the table is ready to pop out. Yeah. Now, if you've ever baked anything in a sticks and bricks, you already know. Normally you have a lot of mixing, a lot of cooking, a lot of cooling, and a lot of stuff that you have to pull out. But I am going to be making this entire recipe using one pop-up bowl and one ridge monkey. So 2 pieces of equipment and then some utensils to do the whipping. We're gonna keep this to a minimum because let's face it, nobody wants to have a ton of dishes in your tiny van. We just don't want to do that. So I have found a recipe that I think is perfect for that. Now, I personally make this brownie mix that is absolutely delicious at home. It's soft, it's wonderful, it's so delicious, and I think that we can do it while we're in the van, but we're about to find out. Now, inside this bag right here is everything we should need. I went to just a local grocery store and found this, and some of these items are a bit larger than I would normally buy. However, we needed them and I'll use them again, so don't worry. So the first thing that we have is a small vegetable oil. We do need this for the mix. I tried to find a smaller one. This is the smallest one that they had, so picked this one up. I'll be using this for quite a while because I don't use a lot of vegetable oil in the van. Okay, next up we pull out our generic little Duncan Hines here. Now this is just the cheapest Duncan Hines mix that they did have. I think it was like $1, like 10 or something like that. And this is just the dark chocolate. I do prefer to use the dark chocolate for this particular recipe. It'll make sense in just a few minutes, but on the back you'll notice it required 1 egg, some water, and vegetable oil. I didn't want to use an egg because currently if you want to buy eggs, they mostly only have the big boy like dozen, and I definitely don't want a dozen eggs in my van because I don't eat eggs. So instead we're going to be using a solution to not using an egg. I just have some regular raspberry keto yogurt right here. This was like less than $1. It's just the regular Kroger brand, and we're going to use this instead of an egg. It'll work just fine. And last but not least, we have raspberries. So what we're going to be doing is putting these raspberries into our brownie mix. It just makes for a wonderful, sweet, tasty bite whenever we bite in, and the raspberries and the dark chocolate complement each other oh so well, so this is about to be delicious. And last but not least, of course, we're going to need some water. So I have this guy that has just been filled up, so we're going to just use a little bit of water out of this. But now we need some utensils and things so we can mix the actual mix before we cook it. So under the bed I go to where all of my storage is. This is always where it gets a little weird, guys, because I have to crawl in there and pull it all out. But that's okay, we've got this. But before we do, it's actually kind of warm out here on this side of the van. In the shadows, it's a bit cooler, but we're about to be working up quite the sweat. Under here we go, and the first thing I'm gonna pull out is our stove. I'm just gonna set that to the side because we don't need it yet. So it will be inside the van, and then after that is this guy. This holds all of my kitchen equipment, and I have a lot of stuff, and I'm gonna go over what all I have in here, what I regret buying, what I don't plan on bringing with me again, and then what I use all the time on a different video, but we'll talk about that later. Let's just get this out for now and find the things we need. Now for the prep step, we should only need these 3 items. I have a nice little thing to stir everything. I have these measuring spoons, which I don't love these as my favorite measuring spoons, but they do the job, so you know, they're in there. And then I have this little collapsible bowl, and this thing has been one of the best things I've purchased simply because it folds down so small. A regular bowl would take up so much more room, but look at this guy. And 1, 2, 3. Oop, oop, oop. Perfect. Just enough for me to be able to mix a good cake mix, or in this case, a brownie mix. This is also great whenever I'm wanting to have a larger bowl of soup, and I really like this whenever I'm making like a pasta dish and I need to be able to like stir it around a little bit more, because I can put it in here, put a plate on top and just shake. This thing is great, guys. But let's get right into this. I went ahead and just put the raspberries in, and what we're gonna start off by doing is just mashing them. We're gonna mash and mash and mash, and we want them to look more like they're a raspberry paste than the actual raspberries. We don't want to keep them intact. We want them to be creamy and gooey and perfect so that they'll mix into the actual mix very easily. Now at this point in the recipe, if you are making this at home, you can add a tiny bit of sugar to it, because the raspberries sometimes have a little bit of tartness to them, so that'll really sweeten them up. However, because we're using the yogurt and it has a little bit of sweetness, we're not doing that today. Now if you were using eggs, I would definitely recommend a touch of sugar, just a touch. Don't put too much because it'll be super duper sweet, but that will counter the dark chocolate notes and really bring it all together in the end. I want you to trust me on that one. If you know, you know, but if you don't, that's my tip to you guys. Okay, this is just a lactose free. I just found it. It was literally just the cheapest yogurt that I could find that wasn't like just plain, and so we're just gonna scoop this in like so. Okay, so now that that's in there, we're just gonna stir that all in. Again, trying to make sure that we get nice, even texture to this. Now, this is going to be a bit more of a wet recipe than usual, just because of the yogurt. So we were going to have to put in a little bit of water, but we're gonna put in just the tiniest amount of water because of the wet consistency. That way it'll have a little bit more liquidness to it, but we don't want to make it too liquidy because then it gets weird. After we get a nice blend, we're going to go ahead and open up our brownie mix and pour in the mix directly into this combination right here. So here we go. Woo! I always like to move it around to make sure there's no lumps in it. You know, it's kind of rewarding when things just work out and you don't have to go get an extra tool. In it goes. Now, at this point in the process, you're probably saying your bowl is not big enough. But again, trust the process. It definitely is. I've made many cake mixes and many brownie mixes in this very van using this bowl. I promise you, it will work. So let's get to mixing. Okay, here we go. We're just going to slowly beat this downward so it starts to mix at the bottom, and this process can take quite a few minutes, but this also gets rid of any of the potential lumps as we're going, and then we'll start pulling from the sides and pulling in. Slow and steady wins the race, or inch by inch it's a cinch. Yard by yard it's very hard. Same thing with baking. Baking is one of those things that's all about measurements, but sometimes in a van, based on your altitude, your location, and also what you're trying to make, it simply doesn't work out the same. Okay, now guys, since we've got it mixed up to this point, we're gonna put in the vegetable oil and then also a little bit of water. We're not gonna put a full 1/3 cup in though. We're gonna get a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, and then we're going to like slowly add water as we need it for consistency. Now, because I don't carry measuring cups, I only carry measuring spoons, which is why I was saying what I did earlier. We had to do some quick math via Google. 8 US tablespoons equal 1/2 cup. So we need to do 8 of these tablespoons. So we're gonna open this and cross our fingers that we don't spill. But the good news is we're going to pour directly over this. So if we do spill, it at least go in there and we won't leave it on the ground. So here we go. And that's 1. That seems like a lot. Like a lot. But when in doubt, again, trust the process. Time to mix. And here we go, again, slowly working it in. And as we're working it in, it starts to immediately start sinking to the bottom, which is good. We're gonna clean off all those sides and pull up from the bottom to make sure we don't have any dry spots. Now the mix itself is super wet, and you can see where all of the little berries are inside, and that's exactly what we want. We want this to be super moist because it's going to stay moist as it cooks, and it's gonna cook very evenly, but it's gonna make sure that it's thoroughly cooked also. Now, under perfect conditions, when we're actually using a real life oven, it says to preheat to 350 and then spray the bottom with Pam. And then we're going to stir all the mix together, and then we're gonna bake it for approximately, in an 8x8, 34 to 37 minutes. Now, first and foremost, we have no way to regulate the temperature inside of our van because we don't have a proper stove/oven. So we're gonna be winging it. But what I mean by that is we're gonna be cooking it over a butane stove in a very special pan. You guys have seen it here if you've been with the channel for very long. We're using the Ridge Monkey. Now we're using the small one so we can make personal pan sizes of these brownies. And it just tends to work a little bit better because I can flip it in that. That way we have a good top and a good bottom. Now this is our Ridge Monkey in question. It's the tiny guy, and I've loved this one. This was the first one that I ended up with. I had to ship it from abroad to get it here, but it's basically a really cool sandwich maker. Let me show you what it looks like real quick, and then I think you'll understand a little bit more about how easy it is to cook with this guy when it comes to baked goods, because it does kind of mimic the feeling of an oven. Oh my goodness, the sleeve was on here so tight today, guys. So this guy right here is just a little sandwich press, but it closes down fully, and so that way things can't ooze out the sides as easily. And then inside we have our handles, which we can put on this, and the handles, you can see there's two little dots. They're actually magnetic, so it keeps it sealed a little bit more. So even when that pressure within of the bubbling and the gooiness is starting to pop up, this keeps it pretty well closed, so we're still safe. Okay guys, as you can see, I have the Ridge Monkey, I have the heat screen, and I have my water right here, but I'm gonna go ahead and move it because I don't need it for the time being. It is nice to have water on hand just in case. Now the heat screen is actually something that I highly recommend everyone have. However, it also has a lot of purpose beyond just being a heat screen. It's also a wind screen. So what it does is it protects my bed against the heat getting over there to it or the fire getting out of the way, but it also helps if it's a windy day that I have the doors already open, as you can see, kind of just barely wedged open, but air can still get in and zoom under, and then it's really hard on keeping the flame. So this guy right here protects it a little bit more and keeps it going, which I really like. As you can see, a little bit goes a long way. We are going to have so many of these little mini cakes, but that's okay. I wanted to go ahead and get the full mix and go ahead and put it together so we can have snacks for the next few days. These are also great for hiking snacks because you can take these and put them into little bags, and they have some really good stuff in them. You can also mix protein powder into these so that you can create really great trail snacks. And I've done that a few times before with just some chocolate protein powder, and it is A1, let me tell you. But for the time being, we're gonna close it down, and then we're going to turn on our flame and get this party started. Now, just like any other time that you bake, now we wait. And the interesting thing is, because we can't set a timer to know exactly how long it needs to be, we're just gonna have to every so often open it and look at it. And when it gets about halfway, then we will flip it, because that's the nice thing about the Ridge Monkey is you can flip it over so that you get the even dispersal of heat for more even cooking. And that's what makes baked goods in this thing awesome. Now, are they gonna look like a traditional cake, a traditional brownie, a muffin? No, it's gonna be a little square, and then we can cut it into other squares, which I guess would resemble a regular brownie, but coming straight out the gate, it's gonna be about this big. In fact, on this first one, I already went ahead and flipped it because it's cooking very rapidly in here, and I didn't want to burn it. this is our tester cake. We always have one tester thing, and this one is that today. In fact, on the timing, it's been in there less than 5 minutes, and I already smelt that it was cooking. So I went ahead and looked, and sure enough, it was already time to flip. Now, this is gonna be a dark chocolate, so it's gonna rise to the top and be a little bit darker, but also we wanna make sure that we're not misunderstanding dark chocolate for dark burnt. And so the tester cake is always super important. Now, even if the tester cake ends up being something inedible, we still have so much, guys. It's okay. I would rather have this learning curve than to have something that is just gonna ruin the whole batch. So, small and steady, here we go. We're doing good so far. Looks like it is cooking nicely. And this is the thing I love about this. I can shake it so it settles good, and then we can flip it again. Check it out. Oh, look at that. Yeah, these are gonna cook so well. And then we can just kind of maneuver them back into place. Okay, so in the back here, I have our tester cake. I went ahead and rolled it up to see if it was oozy or gooey. And then I also took a knife and I just kind of poked it in to see if it came back with any kind of like substance. It's cooked. It's very cooked. And so now we're almost to the tasting phase. Oh, it's super hot still. Okay, we're to a better place now. It's a little bit cooler, so I'm gonna take a little bite off of this piece. Oh yeah, this is really good. Ooh, it worked, guys, it worked. Still pretty hot though. Ooh. Immediately, I already backed down the heat just a little bit because it was super hot as soon as it touched and already went tss. So I don't want it to cook that fast. I want it to slow down just a little bit. So we backed down the heat and now we're good. Now this process is gonna take me a little while because there's so many individual cakes, but I'll see you guys in just a few minutes and I'll show you the final product. I'm so excited because the flavor is all there. And considering I'm making this on a gas burner without any kind of temperature regulation, and then also not using eggs because, well, again, too many eggs, I just am not going to use them. I think that this is a great alternative, and it is a little bit different than the original recipe. However, it is so yummy. I am going to pull out some reusable storage bags. My uncle and aunt actually sent me these a while back, and I've used them a few times and then just resealed them and used them again. It's nice to keep them kind of in this container because it keeps everything together, but I really like these because they're not just like a regular baggie that you would use. They're actually a bit thicker, more durable, and also they do well in the refrigerator. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my example one in here, crumble it up so it can be a nice snack bag, and then I'll use these for the additional ones because there's some larger ones in here. And these are a really good brand, so check it out if you're interested. Again, I'll show you all of this and leave you some links whenever I do the kitchen video, but for now, let's put some stuff away. Okay guys, here it is. Again, little square, and we'll end up cutting this, and I'll go ahead and cut it probably now before it fully cools. That way it can let some of the heat out, but we're gonna make these into little squares, and then it'll be easier to pick up and eat later. Also, I'm not sure if you guys can see this really well, but we better hurry up because it looks like we're gonna get some rain in just a little while. The temperature has dropped considerably from when I started this video, almost to the point that I wanna put on a hoodie again. But we're gonna finish this, we're gonna conquer, and then we're gonna go inside because we don't wanna get wet. Okay guys, I can't take it anymore. We gotta have this. This is taking a little bit longer because we're cooking them on low, and I'm trying to get them to cook all the way through, and the wind is starting to come in a little bit more, and because of that, it's making it harder to cook. This is the difficulty sometimes of van life. You never know what's gonna happen, but we have a jacket. I'm gonna put it on. I'm cold. Okay guys, we're doing the last one right here, and then we're gonna go over and cut that one up and make sure it's delicious. Just gonna mix this into here so it's nice and square and coating the space. This one's a little bit more full, so it could be a bit more problematic, but you know what? This is the last of the mix, so let's go ahead and do it. And the interesting thing about this is because we didn't use any egg, if you wanted to, you could totally lick the bowl. You could totally lick the bowl, and we might do that, I don't know. That's one of my favorite things about baking is getting to lick the bowl after. Well, not the bowl itself, but you know, the spoon. Yeah. Okay guys, here we go. We have a full plate of the raspberry brownies and I'm so excited because again, they smell delicious. Now, the presentation is not the best, I will admit that. I struggled a little bit with getting some of them out of the pan when I was flipping them, and so that they would kind of move funny. And because they are a softer brownie, then they would kind of lump up in the corner. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they look good, it's how they taste. And I can already tell you, these things are so good. And I'm super excited because I'm actually going to be sharing some of these whenever Brock gets back to camp and say, hey, you want some food? Because he all the time does all these cool cooking videos and shares his food with me, so I'm gonna share some baked goods with him. And I'm super excited because, well, these things are delicious and they're one of my favorite things that's easy to make, and you can make those modifications. Now, even if you don't wanna make these brownies, I do encourage you to look at a regular cake mix or brownie mix and see what kind of substitutions that you can make to make it your own while you're in your tiny space. You might be surprised what you come up with because this is gonna be delicious. Remember guys, we're not here for a long time, but we are here for a good time, and simply sometimes adapting a recipe and having fun making it and bringing those warm, fuzzy, cozy, warm, happy, delicious feelings home to your van is that. Till next time guys, bye! And now it's cleanup time. I have some work to do, so I'll see you guys on the next upload. Ugh.